let's talk about living this net zero lifestyle, because this net zero lifestyle is keeping the majority of people broke and it is holding you back from becoming wealthy. The way it works is like this. The majority of people think, okay, I have $100 in my bank account right now, and if I have $100 in my bank account, that means I can go out and I can spend $100 on a pair of shoes because I have $100 in my bank account. If I have $100, I should be able to spend $100. This is net zero thinking, because if you have $100, you can spend $100. This mindset kills people's wealth, because if you have $100, you cannot afford to spend $100. This is why I keep saying that your income is not what determines if you're going to become wealthy or not, and your income is not what's going to determine if you're going to live broke or not. It's what you do with your money. If you make $100,000 and then you spend $100,000, guess what? You're broke. If you make $20,000 a year and you spend $20,000, guess what? You're still broke. The very first thing you have to understand is you are not allowed to spend every dollar that you have, because some of your money needs to be saved to protect you from emergencies, and some of your money needs to be invested to help build your wealth, okay? If you have $100 in your bank account, you cannot afford to spend $100. This becomes even more true if this money that's in your bank account is not yours. So when I was in law school, I had this friend, or acquaintance rather, that was in my law school with me. And I was talking to him one day about what his plans were for the evening, and then he told me that he was going out to buy a really nice umbrella. I thought it was kind of funny that his evening activity was to buy an umbrella, but I understand it because, we're in a rainy area and it's not fun to go walk around when it's wet outside. So I told him that I bought my umbrella from Home Depot and I paid like $5 from it. And he told me, now remember, this is when we were in law school, okay? He did not have a job. He told me that he wanted to go out and buy this really fancy $400 umbrella. He showed it to me on his phone. And I was like, $400 for an umbrella? Who spends $400 on an umbrella? And he told me that he had this extra cash from his student loans in his bank account, so he wanted to use this money to buy and invest in this umbrella. So when he goes to these attorney interviews, he's gonna look really fancy with his $400 umbrella in his hand. That is net zero thinking on steroids. Now you assume, oh, I have $400 in my bank account, even though this money is not yours. This is money from the bank, and you feel like you need to spend this money because this cash is in your bank. When you live this lifestyle of spending every dollar you have in your bank, whether it's your money or someone else's money, it's even more expensive when it's someone else's money, but when you have this need to spend every dollar you have on things that don't make you money, like an umbrella, you are going to be broke. The solution to this net zero thinking is to create a system where you are not allowed to spend all the money you have. You have to create the system where you know that you have to live below your means. This is where our rule of 5 comes into play. Our rule of 5 says if you cannot buy 5 of them, you cannot afford 1 of them. So if you have $100 in your bank account, and we're talking about things you don't need to survive, if you have $100 in your bank account and you want to go buy something, you can only afford to buy something that costs $20. Because if you have $100 in your bank account, this $20 thing is what you can afford to buy 5 times over. So if you cannot buy it 5 times, you can't afford to buy it 1 time. Second, let's talk about money traps to avoid, because the majority of Americans are broke and will never build wealth because they're spending money they don't have on things they don't need, which will never make them any money. Sometimes this is obvious. Like I just gave you that example of that person I knew in law school who had money from student loans. This money was not his. This is the bank's money that he spent to buy an umbrella, right? But sometimes this money trap isn't so obvious. When the majority of people say that they can afford something, what they actually mean is I can make the monthly payments. But that's very different than being able to afford something. The simplest example of this is your cell phone, okay? Your $1,000 cell phone that you have in your pocket. So many people are financing this phone on $20, $30, $40, $50 monthly payments because they cannot afford to pay $1,000 for a phone. So they think, oh, I can afford this phone because I can pay $50 a month with 0% APR financing, so I'm not paying any extra money in interest and I can afford this phone, right? But this is a money trap. What happens when you finance something that you can't afford, that you don't have the cash to buy up front? Well, now you're going to be paying this $20, $30, $40, $50 a month for the rest of your life, because every year you're going to get into this trap of buying a brand new phone. And then secondly, you never have the pain of this money leaving your wallet. You think that you just bought a $1,000 phone, but you never had the pain of $1,000 leaving your wallet. All you saw was $50 leaving your account every single month. And so you think now, oh, I bought this $1,000 phone and it's only costing me $50 a month. so let me go and buy this $2,000 laptop that you can't afford, but it's only $85 a month, so now you buy that. And then you buy the sofa that you can't afford because that's only $75 a month, and now you're spending money on things that you can afford because you think you can live way up here, but you can actually afford down here. You thought you were being financially smart by paying 0% APR, but you just got played because now you're spending more money on things that you don't need because you never had the pain of money leaving your pocket in the first place. The reason 0% APR is so profitable for businesses is because when you buy things with 0% APR, you never have the pain of money leaving your bank, and so now you can buy a whole bunch of things that you didn't know that you can afford because you can't actually afford it. All you think you can afford is the monthly payments. There's a difference between being able to afford a smartphone and being able to make the monthly payments. There's a difference between being able to afford a brand new car and being able to make the payments. You need to start being able to afford the things you buy, not just making the monthly payments. The goal with the first two things that I talked about, not living net zero and avoiding money traps, is all so you can grow your money and your wealth faster. If you follow the first two things that I just talked about, you avoid net zero, you avoid these money traps, what you're gonna see happen is all of a sudden you're gonna find extra money in your bank account out of nowhere. Now, what you wanna do with this extra money is you wanna put some of it to work, that way you can grow your wealth faster. There's two terms you need to understand: assets and liabilities. I've talked about this before, so if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure you do that. But what you need to understand are assets are things that put money in your pocket. Liabilities are things that take money away from your pocket. Your $400 umbrella, your shoes, your lottery tickets, all these things are liabilities. If you're spending money on something and it's not putting money in your pocket, or if you're not buying it for the sole purpose of making money, it's a liability. The interesting thing about liabilities, though, is liabilities make you look rich, right? When you go out and you buy a fancy new wardrobe, you buy new shoes, you buy a new purse, you buy a new cell phone, you buy a new watch, all this stuff makes you look rich. And so this is what broke people do. Broke people spend all their money on liabilities, that way they can look rich, but they're actually just product rich. You look rich, but you're actually broke because you have no assets. If you want to become wealthy, you got to flip this around. You need to start spending more money on assets, which are things that pay you for owning them. And then once you have more money coming in, then you can afford to buy these liabilities. The first time I really understood this concept of assets and liabilities was when I first started investing in real estate. I was running this event planning business and I had money in my bank account, and I really wanted to buy this BMW. It was the 3 Series, and I really wanted to buy a 3 Series because it looks sweet and it would look really cool with my image. But then for some reason, I was reading books and every book talked about how wealthy people own real estate. I had no idea what real estate investing was. I didn't grow up with real estate investing family members, but I decided, I wanted to try this out. So instead of using my money to buy a car, I ended up buying a small little condo. This condo, as soon as I bought it, about a month later after renovating it, I rented it out for $600 a month, and after paying all expenses, I was left with $250 a month in profit every single month, and I didn't have to physically do any work to get this $250 a month. This was passive income I was getting because I spent my money buying an asset instead of using my money to buy a liability, which was a car. Assets are things that put more money in your pocket. These are the things you need to buy if you want to build wealth. Liabilities are things that make you look rich, but they keep you broke. So now if your goal is to become wealthier faster, you got to spend less money here and buy more assets aggressively. And it doesn't have to be a ton of money to start. You can start with $5 a day or $5 a week or $20 a week, whatever you have. You just got to make these small incremental investments. That way you can buy these assets and build your wealth faster. The reason it's important for you to be buying these assets instead of just keeping your money in your bank account is because at the end of the day, when you're working to make money, you physically are working to make money. When you save money, your money is just sitting like this. It's flat. Your money isn't doing anything. The amount of money you have in your savings account today is going to be the same amount of money you have in a year, assuming you don't take any money out or put it in, right? So if your money is in your savings account, it's just sitting there. But you can't physically always be working, right? You want to live this life where you have other sources of income coming in. This is where assets come in. When you invest your money, you can see your money grow like this. It grows quicker than your money in your savings account, and it grows without you physically having to earn this money. You're using your money as a tool, kind of like a magnet to go out and attract you more money. And if you want to attract more money, you need to be buying more assets. The more money you put in here, the more money you're going to get back. But it doesn't really work like that. There's a lot more to becoming wealthy than just having a big salary. I mean, it can help, but if you don't know how to use your money, or if you don't have the right mindset, or if you don't know how to pay yourself, or if you don't have the right patience, then it doesn't really mean anything. It's all about what's in here before you make the money. If you actually want to become wealthy, there are 5 things you need to do.